Okay, so let's get right into it. There's a serious water crisis brewing in Gauteng, South Africa's economic heartland. We're talking about taps running dry and reservoirs dropping to really dangerous levels. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what's going on, what the impact really feels like on the ground, and what some of the solutions on the table are, from what communities can do all the way to personal backup systems.
So, here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the crisis itself, looking at why the system is so strained. Then, we'll dive into the ripple effects of all this. After that, we'll talk about what we can all do about it, take a look at the option of personal water supplies, and then wrap things up with a bigger question about our water future.
All right, let's start with the heart of the matter. The situation in Gauteng, it isn't just a small problem. We're looking at a system where demand is just completely overwhelming the supply. It's a system that's truly on the brink. And look, this isn't just hype. A quote like this, straight from our source material, really tells you how serious things are. When the main water utility starts sending out alarms this loud, well, it's a massive red flag that the province is speeding towards a real disaster if something doesn't change, and fast. Now, this really lays out the perfect storm we're dealing with. It's not just one thing, right? You've got reservoirs that are critically low. At the same time, a brutal heat wave is making everyone use more water. And then there's the big one. The infrastructure is just old. Some reports say millions of liters of perfectly good, treated water are lost every single day from burst pipes and leaks. It's easy to see how all these things are piling on top of each other to create the crisis we have today. And believe me, this crisis is about so much more than just not having water when you turn on the tap. The ripple effects are huge, and they touch pretty much every single part of society. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's so true. We totally take it for granted, but a steady water supply is what everything else is built on. I'm talking manufacturing, farming, even just basic health and sanitation. When that foundation starts to crumble, the entire structure is at risk. And this is where it gets real. For businesses, especially ones that rely on water, this can mean shutting down operations. That affects jobs, it affects the economy, and at home, it means going days without water, which messes with everything from cooking a meal to staying clean. The bottom line is, this isn't some far-off problem. It's a direct hit on the quality of life for millions of people. But listen, it's not all doom and gloom. The sources are also clear that there is a way forward. But, and this is a big but, it's going to take everyone getting on board. This is all about a shared response to a shared problem. And a lot of it really does start at home. These steps, they might seem small, but think about it. Multiply them by millions of households, and suddenly the impact is massive. Just fixing one little dripping tap can save thousands of liters a year. And using gray water, the used water from your bath or washing machine, that's a fantastic way to recycle. These aren't just nice ideas, they're actually crucial actions in a crisis like this. Now, this slide is so important because it shows this isn't a one-way street. As citizens, we have a really powerful role to play. We need to report those leaks and, crucially, follow up to make sure they get fixed. But at the same time, the government has a fundamental duty here. They've got to invest in the long-term health of the water system. That means fixing those ancient bursting pipes and looking at new tech to secure our water future. It has to be a partnership. So, with the public system under so much pressure, it's no surprise that many people who can afford it are trying to create their own safety net. So let's just take a quick look at one of the solutions that comes up in the source material: personal water backup systems. So what is this thing? Well, to put it simply, it's a system you connect to your home's main water line. It keeps a tank full of water, just waiting. And the second the municipal supply goes out, it automatically kicks in to keep your taps running. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a generator, but for water. So here's the clever part. First, it gets hooked right into your main water feed. Now, a really important point mentioned is that the water in the tank is always being refreshed with new municipal water whenever the supply is on. That means you never have to worry about the water going stagnant. Then, when the supply drops, a pressure pump just takes over automatically. It's seamless. You might not even notice the switch. So what does that actually get you? Well, according to the source, a standard system can give you a 1 to 2 week buffer. During a long outage, that is huge. The basic kit comes with all the essentials: the tank, the pump, the pipes, but you can also add on things like filters, which is great if you have a borehole, or even get quieter pumps so you don't disturb the neighbors.
And just to give you some context, the source material also gave some example price points for different system sizes. This just gives you a ballpark idea of the kind of investment we're talking about for this level of personal water security.
Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, it's become really clear that this crisis is forcing us to have a much bigger, more serious conversation about how we manage and, frankly, how we value water. At the end of the day, there's no single silver bullet for this. The only way forward is to combine everything we've talked about. It's about each of us taking those immediate, practical steps at home, while at the same time, we demand and invest in the huge, long-term infrastructure projects that are going to secure our water for generations to come. And I'll leave you with this last thought to chew on. As more and more people turn to things like personal water tanks, or solar power for that matter, it raises a really fascinating question. Are we seeing a fundamental change where individuals are now having to build their own infrastructure just to get basic services? And if so, what happens to the people who can't afford that resilience? It's definitely something to think about as we navigate these really challenging times.